So, Lena, where did this story come from? This set in the 70s? Like, where did this kind of spark from? Was this like a tale you heard from like a parent or an older person? Like, where did this thing come from?
It started from two stories, one that actually didn't make it in. I used to tell I was working in participant media at the time, and I used to tell stories about my dad. And my dad's dad was a tiger hunter. But the story I told them was how he got a visa to America. And at the time, they had this thing where they thought all the Indians had some like bugs in them called amoebiasis. And he had a job, and they're like, no, you have to go to a doctor for 6 months before you can come and get your visa because we want to make sure you're all clean. He's like, I can't do that because I'm going to miss out on my job. So he moved over to a place that had a lot more foreigners. And he moved in with some Europeans. And he broke their toilet, and he waited for one of them to use the restroom. He stole their stool sample, and he had his visa in a week. And so that didn't make it, but it was in every draft until like the second to last one.
You have to make that movie next. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was very close, very close. Actually, I'm working on a TV show, but some of those things might come into play.
The stool sample, I love it. So, is the connection to Chicago through the family then too, or did you just pick Chicago
my
afterwards?
dad came through India first. So, I mean, that's where it sort of departs from my dad.
Okay.
I actually interviewed like dozens of immigrants, not just Indian ones, like Asian, South Asian, like European immigrants, everybody. And like there's a common sort of connection that everybody has that's sort of like figuring out by any means necessary. Chicago was just because like in the 70s, that was one of the popular places to go to for Indians.
Well, let's talk about then casting and international compared to LA based, and then obviously like your American cast. Like it's such a wide variety of characters in this. Let's start with, who was cast first?
Who was cast first? Danny was cast first.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like I was eyeing a couple actors, and we're thinking of certain big ones a lot of people think about. But he's sort of
like Dev, like everyone.
Yeah, Dev and things like that. And we were talking to some of them. But when I brought my casting director on board and he expressed interest, I never even thought of it that way. I was like, Abed from Community, he's weird. Like that's not going to work. But I don't know. He kind of brought a soul and a quirk that wasn't actually in the character at the beginning. Took it sort of a different direction. I think it was much better for it. Like I didn't want it to be one of those really like sad, serious immigrant stories because there's so much comedy behind that experience, and he brought all that. Like he could be on screen for 2 seconds doing nothing and he'll be funny.
So how much did the script change from when you first had those two ideas together to when you guys started filming? I mean, was there a lot of change?
I was rewriting every night. So for every night, I was rewriting the sides for the next day, just kind of embracing the characters we had. Like this was my first film, I didn't know it was going to take off the way it did, and so I didn't we had all these bigger actors and things like that. I thought it was going to be like small little movie, and so I was embracing sort of the characters as they came. Like Karen David, who's on Once Upon a Time Now, and she was on Galvan and all that sort of stuff. She kind of brought the spunk and sass that wasn't even in the character before. For the girl, who she plays Ruby, and so I embraced that. And so every night, making it work with what the actors were bringing me.
What about some of the veteran actors? Like I know, like whenever you hear when a Kevin Pollak goes on a film, he changes everything. Like it's just his impact is so massive.
Yeah.
Was it crazy to start picking some of these people and holy crap, we do have Kevin Pollak in the film now. We get to play with him a little bit in this role.
The set was different. I mean, Kevin, he's a veteran actor. So we'd have those scenes and I'd just be like, okay, Kevin, I'm just going to keep rolling and we're just going to keep resetting and doing it again. And each time you just do a different line. And that's what he would do. And he would just bring the comedy. He'd be like, okay, he's improvising. He's doing this and that. And then we'd cut. And I was sad I couldn't use more of them for the exact same, I only could use one line for each thing. And then in between he's doing he's doing his Christopher Walken impressions and all those other things to my crew. So it was good.
What about being able to bring the film to a screenwriting festival that isn't just a film festival that's looking at films, but they look at the writing process and how it starts much earlier than whenever you guys get to use the cameras. I mean, it's from your head through that.
Yeah.
And Austin Film Festival highlights that. Is it bittersweet then to be at a festival that does showcase that whole element of the process, I guess?
No, I mean, it's amazing. I was a writer, and I also had a television show writer with me, Samir Gardezi, that came on board. And I mean, I was just at this luncheon, and they're talking about how there's 5,000 entries, and it's a writers' festival, and 6 were in our category. And so I was thinking that, and I was like, wow, I never would have thought. One thing is that when I made the movie, and even more now, I never would have thought anybody would be interested in the story of a South Asian dude. And so to see that sort of validated, even on the script level, and that the sort of quirks that went into the actual screenplay are things that resonated with people, that was really validating and kind of exciting.
So, being a part of the panel experience, what's that been like for you? And getting to meet other writers and fellow people who are in this game with you.
No, I mean, it's been cool because you have so many differences. I mean, even just forget like ethnic differences, like Austin is way different from LA. Austin is so much more casual than LA, but having everybody, they're speaking the same language even when they're talking about crazy different projects. Like we're talking about the same sort of constraints when this one guy, he's working on a horror movie and I'm working on these comedies right now, but we're dealing with the exact same things in terms of process and obstacles. And so it's cool kind of seeing everybody's advice and some people asking advice, which is very humbling. So it's been a lot of fun.
You know, I think this year more than any other, we've talked to more female writer-directors than I have in a long time. As far as being a part of, hopefully, what becomes not just a trend, but we get to see more female-driven projects, what does that mean to you to have made this film and to be one of those people that are hopefully making a difference?
I mean, the fun part of that is it's cool because along the way, nowadays more, sometimes people are dropping that sort of hyphen before you. Like, I'm not always, the female writer-director. Sometimes you just get to be the writer-director, which has been very cool. And that doesn't happen until you have more and more female writers-directors around. And so it's just to see that, because I've been on, some amount of panels, and even this time, like usually they note that, and this time they didn't. And I was like, I think that's just sort of a testament to how many more you see out there right now. That it's just becoming something common and not like, hey, look at you, token person. So...
I've got to ask, writing-wise, you said you were working on a TV?
I'm working on a couple TV shows, and I'm working on a movie. I mean, like, things have been very trippy in the past 5 months. Like, after this movie, we premiered in Los Angeles, had a really great premiere, and we had a really nice review in the Hollywood Reporter. And after that, my life's been, like, crazy. I got signed over at CAA. They've been the best to me ever. And so I'm working on a feature right now, and I'm working on a couple TV shows.
Do you want to stay in the same kind of personal stories, or are you branching out?
No, I'm branching out. Although... they keep coming back to me. So one of the TV shows, one of the companies that I can't say, approached me, and they wanted, they're like, we want this TV show set in India. And I'm like, who wants to see a TV show set in India? And I had no expectation or even desire so much to work on something like that, but it turned out to be really fun. But no, the other one is just it's sort of a police procedural, except in a comedic way, kind of like Monk. And then the other one actually involves the African American community, so kind of jumping boats.
So, as far as though writing outside of that, I mean, are you leaning on TV or film, or does it matter to you?
See, I mean, I sort of shepherded this project. I mean, at the very beginning, before I actually had like these great people come on board that knew more than I did, I was like, I'm going to get this movie made. So I went around the country fundraising. I like looked up venture capitalists and I cold emailed them, like did all kinds of stuff. Because I knew at the end, I was like, somehow I'm going to make this exist. I don't know what in form or what state, and it was a lot bigger than I thought, but I know it'll make it happen. Now in TV world, it's cool because things happen really quickly. But then you also have projects that you love die and they don't make it all the way, and there's nothing you can do unless you make like a web series, which I just didn't have the time for at the moment. So
you brought up Participant. When you were working there, how have you grown from that time when you were learning those lessons and seeing these movies being made to right now that you've your agent and everything's kind of changing, but how has that world's flipped? Has it been kind of crazy, or how has it been?
It's changing, but it's the same. I mean, Participant is a company of activists, which is sort of where I've always had my heart and soul in terms of why I got into film and television, and so it's still there. Like, I mean, the movie I'm working on, I mean, it would be a dream if, like, first company I will probably take it to is Participant, even if my agents are say otherwise. Like, I don't care. I love that company, and so everything I do kind of has that spirit. Like, it's entertainment, but with an eye to, when, I think Paul Feig, he said it today, and he's like, it's such an honor when people are in the theater watching your movie, you have control over their eyes, ears, and what else? Eyes and ears, right? And that's a tremendous power. And so I think I always try to, everything I have some sort of like, I maybe broaden some horizons or bring a story you might not have heard before, or an issue. Like the movie I'm working on, for instance, right now has to do with the police shootings that have been happening, and kind of giving both sides, like not just, doing it for like making anybody out to be the enemy. So I think it hasn't changed as much. It's just more people have kind of joined and been supporting me.
Where do you think your comedic writing comes from then? Because obviously it sounds like you're passionate about change and seeing change, but where does the comedy side come from?
I don't know. I just don't know how to be too serious for too long, I think. But like even in the Tiger Hunter in this movie, like the comedy came from real life. So for instance, I didn't get to put the stool sample scene in anymore. I mean, I'm the one who took it out, just it distracted. But like the scene with the two stories that started was another guy had told me about his dad, who his dad came and they didn't have much money, but they scheduled all their interviews around this really cool suit they had. So they would literally they'd run back in, they would switch suits with the other guy. They'd be like, no, I'm late for the 12:15 spot. I need the suit. No, I need the suit. And so that became part of one of the scenes. It became one of our set pieces. So a lot of it just came from comedy of real life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've got to ask, as far as showcasing the film, since you do have the international cast, and do you look towards the international scene as far as trying to get Tiger Hunter out there, or do you just kind of see what's going on around here? Like, where do you want to take the film, I guess is the best way to put it?
I mean, at first I thought that I was just taking it around here, but then we got so much interest internationally, and I didn't even, and just the reality of kind of the film landscape right now is you actually do get a lot more attention, money, audiences sometimes internationally than you would here. And so a lot of countries in Europe where we've been selling territories have been very excited. Obviously, we're going to be bringing it to India, Canada, and things like that. So sort of both.
Looking at India, since that film community is so large, I mean, it's bigger than Hollywood. Are you expecting even bigger explosion once you do peek it over there? I mean, this film could blow up there even more and give it a whole nother life. That's got to be something fun, but a little scary too, that you're going to have another possible second win.
Yeah, it was really trippy. I was in Chicago where we did a smaller festival. I mean, kind of a burgeoning, very cool festival, Chicago Film Festival, and there was somebody there who was from India, and they're like, "We've been waiting for your film over there." I'm like, "Who are you, and how did you hear about this film?" And so that was sort of kind of blew me away a little bit. And they're like, no, we've heard about the film. We know the actor. KK Menon is he won Best Supporting Actor for the Indian Oscars, I think last year or something like that. So it's been kind of crazy. And then I got approached by a Bollywood producer about bringing content over there, and I was like, this is a world I never thought I was going to be stepping into, but why not?
Well, I've got to kind of jump into Austin to kind of wrap the interview. I'm curious. What have you been able to do here? Have you gotten into the city at all? Or is there anything you want to try or barbecue?
I had Gordos.
Oh,
and it was amazing.
More.
And I broke
What'd
my diet, and I had I made my own. I told the guy, I was like, I like 3 of them. I like the Nutella, the peanut butter morsels, and chocolate. Make me something. And he did it, and it was amazing and wonderful. And I want to try bananarchy too.
There we go.
Yeah.
Great recommendations. So, lastly, where can we find out more information about you, Tiger Hunter, and kind of just what's next?
Yeah, I mean, all the links and everything, in terms of when the film's going to be released, interviews, all that sort of stuff, is at www.thetigerhunter.com, or you can text the word movie to, oh shoot, I forgot. Oh no, 66866. You can text the word movie to 66866, and you'll be informed when it's coming to your area.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Lena, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
It was a pleasure.